12 o'clock Thursday afternoon now. Welcome in. It is the halftime show. Tyler Head, Captain Dave, Terry Ford, fashionably late as always, coming in just a couple of minutes here. A lot to get to. You know, we kind of navigate our way through these summer months, and you know, we hope for any kind of news, especially on the football front, that we can sink our teeth into. And got some of that last night with a unexpected ad in the transfer portal, which I'll get into in just a moment here. I do think it's funny. We talk about as we build up closer to the season, SEC Media Days is kind of like the event we all look forward to because, for one, it's cool to be in a place and get to hear from the coaches and the players and all those kind of things. It also kind of provides that, indication that the season's almost here, a little over a month between the end of SEC Media Days and when we get things kicked off this year in late August. We've been going through the process of getting our credentials and all that kind of stuff lined up for Media Days, which is in Atlanta this year. I'll be going for the first time, which I'm very excited about. I thought initially it was actually going to be at the College Football Hall of Fame. Apparently it is actually at the Omni Hotel, which is right there connected to the College Football Hall of Fame and all that kind of stuff. But I think it's really funny because I went to prom at the Omni Hotel when I was in high school a little over 10 years ago. So I guess I can relive some high school memories while also at SEC Media Days. Where did you have your prom at, Dave? Do you remember?
I think it was in someone's barn.
Someone's barn? Where'd you go to high school?
No, I actually didn't go to prom.
Okay. What high school did you go to?
Lawrence High School.
Okay. Would they have had it in a barn?
They could have, yeah.
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 Is that fair?
No, I'm being unfair to them. They probably had it in the unair-conditioned gym at...
See, that's the thing is like, talk to my dad and stuff like that. And back then, that's just where, like, prom was. Like, you just had in your high school gym, like, any other dance that you went to. At what point did we start becoming so extravagant as high school? I went to public high school. It wasn't like I went to a private school that, for some reason had a deal with the Omni Hotel to have prom.
I know, and kids nowadays stay out like all night.
Mm-hmm.
Now, in my days, you be home at 10:30 or else I'm coming to get you.
Yeah. Well, gosh, now prom doesn't even start till 10:30.
I know.
It seems that way.
It's crazy.
So, yeah, I guess I'll get to relive some memories going to SEC Media Days coming up here next month. But excited for it, and obviously excited to, hear from Coach Beamer and whatever players he ends up taking. Because I'm thinking right now, because we still got a month, but I don't expect we're going to hear from him, at least in a public setting, anytime between now and then. Maybe he'll pop up on an interview on, the Dan Patrick Show or something along those lines. But as far as usual public comments, nothing really until then, as we, again, kind of get that final look ahead to the season and all that kind of stuff and start kind of setting the table for what's going to be hopefully a fun year for South Carolina as they try and back up their 9-3 regular season from a year ago and just narrowly missing out on the college football playoff. As we get through the summer, we typically don't talk a lot about transfer portal ads because most of the portal work gets done either in December, January, or in some circumstances, coming away from spring practice in late April into early May. Very rarely do you get somebody that commits to your school from the portal in the middle of June. But that's exactly what happened last night. If you went to bed early, you probably missed it. Isaiah Augustov, running back from Colorado, announces that he's going to the University of South Carolina. Now, it's a bit of an interesting case with him because he was at Colorado this past year, was their leading rusher, and did originally go into the portal in the offseason, had committed to Virginia. Apparently, there was some issue with his credits and getting his classes over and all that kind of stuff, and Virginia is very much a high-end academic institution that's one of the best, certainly, in the country, so maybe there is some complications there that came along with that, but for whatever reason, he couldn't get those things straightened out and has to put his name back into the portal, and lo and behold, ends up at South Carolina. The first question that's obviously going to come to everyone's mind is, what does this mean for Rasul Faison? And if you read it on Gamecock Central and all those other sites that cover this stuff, they made it a very quick point that this as of right now, still has no bearing on what's happening with Rasul Faison. Doesn't mean it's going to happen one way or the other. Again, as we've been following this saga, hashtag free Sewell, by the way, as we've been following this saga, there's no end in sight. They could come out in the next 5 minutes and say, hey, guess what? Rasul Faison's eligible. Or it could be, after the season begins, because that's a possibility that we've talked about as well, that, they could eventually rule on this in like October. Say, we didn't get around to it. Or, we needed like an extra piece of paper or whatever, and finally got what we needed to make the decision. But as we sit now 80 days away from kickoff, you start to get a little bit worried, right? And you do have to plan. Like, okay, well, just in case he does not get eligible, what are we going to do at running back? And when you look at South Carolina's running back room, minus Rasul Faison, a little bit light. You have Attaway, who's here a season ago, as well as Fuller and Jordan Howell, who got a couple carries here and there. And then Bradley Dunn, as far as scholarship, running backs go. But I wouldn't expect, and credit to Bradley Dunn for going from a walk-on to being on scholarship, but I don't think there was heavy plans to utilize him this upcoming year as one of your feature backs in the room. But if you went into the season with no Rasul Faison and only those 4 guys, you're pretty light. Compared to most running back rooms around the country, that is pretty light to be carrying 4 guys on scholarship. So Carolina, with the ability, with a scholarship open, went out there and got Isaiah Augustov out of Colorado. Again, leading rusher at Colorado last year. Numbers aren't crazy. Spending a year at Arkansas before that with just a tick over 200 yards and a touchdown there. But nothing in his college career has particularly wowed you yet. And you can go watch his highlights, and he's got some good runs in there. But, I don't think it was anything that people were saying, oh, this guy is, a must get for, schools around the country. He wasn't ranked the highest when it came to On3 and the transfer portal rankings from the various sites and all that kind of stuff in terms of, the running back position. But one thing that I look at when I examine the numbers from Isaiah Augustov, Colorado and Arkansas too, was he played behind 2 really bad offensive lines. And I think that's something really worth noting here. 2 years ago, when we all thought Sam Pittman was going to get fired, a big reason why is because Arkansas's offensive line was so bad. And why that comes back to bite Sam Pittman is he's an offensive lineman by trade, an offensive line coach himself for so many years, and that's an area of the team that should have never gotten as bad as it was. Obviously, he still was able to save his job, and he's still there as of right now. But that was a bad offensive line 2 years ago. And then you go to Colorado, and I guess, yes, technically you could say last year's offensive line was better than the first one in 2023 under Deion Sanders, but not by much. And again, they've gone out there and tried to build their offensive line via the transfer portal. Well, guess what? That doesn't work. Because offensive line is about continuity and gelling and all those kind of things. And we have a bunch of players coming from all over that never played with each other before. You're going to be hard-pressed to have success with an offensive line by building it that way. So while Augustave's never flashed a whole lot in his college career, I do think we do have to take into account the fact that he was probably significantly hindered by the guys in front of him blocking. So much to the point, and if you haven't heard me bring this up already, I'll restate it once again. 75% of his yards, think about that, 3/4 of Isaiah Augustave's yards in his college career have come after contact. Think about that. 75% of his yards in his college career have come after somebody makes contact with him at or near the line of scrimmage. And I give him a lot of credit because he's turned those what could be, 0-yard gains or maybe 1 and 2 yard losses into 3, 4, 5, 6 yard runs. He's busted off some long ones too in his college career as well. But I feel like he has made the most of a tough situation ahead of him. Now, South Carolina is not exempt from having bad offensive lines. The past couple of years, certainly, 2 of the lowlights for sure. Last year's team towards the end of the season was bailed out mainly by Lenore Seller's ability to just kind of fend for himself when he had a defender in his face. But still, the offensive line leaves a lot to be desired for South Carolina and has for these past couple seasons. So I don't know how much better it's going to be than it has been the past couple years, but I would be venturing to say it's probably going to be better than what Colorado and Arkansas have given Isaiah Auguste in his 2 years in college so far. So if he can have decent blocking and decent line play in front of him, maybe this is a guy that can jump up there and surprise you. Maybe this is a guy that can really go out there and do some special things, whenever his number's called upon. And that becomes the next question is, okay, you bring this guy in, how much work is he going to have to do? How much load is he going to have to carry? Because if Rasul Faison is going to be deemed eligible by the NCAA, then I think it's reasonable to expect that he is going to carry the majority of the load at running back. Maybe not as much as Rocket Sanders did when he was healthy a season ago, but still a significant amount that would position him, in most people's eyes, as running back one, RB1 in South Carolina's backfield. But if he's not eligible, if he's not able to play, how do you divvy up those carries between Oscar Attaway, between Isaiah Auguste, between Matthew Fuller, between Jawarn Howler, however deep you want to go with this, because not everybody is going to go out there and run with 4 running backs, but you may have a back-by-committee type of approach saying, okay, we're just going to rotate these guys through, and if somebody ends up standing out, we'll get them more carries. If not, we'll just keep the rotation going, right? So that will provide an opportunity to kind of earn your spot, I guess, if it does come to that. Again, hashtag Free Sewell. We are hoping that any minute now, the powers that be in the NCAA come to their senses and say, hey, let's give this guy's eligibility. Let's let him play this upcoming year and stop dragging this out. Or at the very least, if you're going to deny him his eligibility, tell us, right? That's the aggravating part about this whole thing is it's not the fact that the NCAA isn't going to deem him eligible. It's the fact that we just don't know anything. There's been no word from it. This goes back to, January when he got here? Beamer talked about, we submitted the paperwork and gave him this form and all these kind of things they asked us to sign and all that kind of stuff, and we should be good to go. All indications were that they were. And now we're in June, again, 80 days away from kickoff, and we don't know if South Carolina has what is expected to be their primary running back or not. Just tell us something. But even if it is a denial, just tell us. Say, hey, he can't play. Okay, all right, that sucks, obviously, for Faison and what we anticipate the running back room could have been, but at least allows you to start with your plan of, okay, now here's the guys that you have left. What are you going to do with them? So fingers crossed we can get Rasul Faison and Isaiah Auguste playing this season. But for right now, at least you've got a little more depth in your running back room, which obviously very, very much needed it, given the limbo that everything with Rasul Faison is sitting at as of right now. I think Terry's going to show up, Dave. Usually we don't get to the end of the first segment without him, but hopefully he'll be here by the time we get to the next segment.
Yeah.
We'll see.
What's going on?
I don't know. But we got kickoff windows, and we'll discuss that coming up next. It is the halftime show. Tyler Head, Captain Dave, I think Terry Ford, coming up here in just a moment as your Thursday rolls along on the game.
Halftime show. Terry Ford, appreciate you hanging out with us as we run till 3. Okay, while I was upstairs embezzling money for SEC Media Days,
Yes.
what'd you talk about?
We did talk about the new running back edition. I also, and I have to correct myself on something because we're putting things together for SC Media Days, and I got my email about my credentials being approved, so I am allowed to come. I falsely remembered going to prom at the Omni Hotel. I was incorrect on that. I actually went to prom at the Westin Hotel in Atlanta, which is the big circular one that spins at the top. It's like right down the street, but not the Omni, the Westin.
The Westin.
Because I was like, oh, do I get to relive prom memories while we're at SC Media Days? No, wrong hotel.
We'll get
But
you tux.
an honest mistake.
Here's what we'll get you tux.
Sure.
And it'd be like second chance prom or whatever they call this mess. Where you get to go if you didn't go to your prom when you were younger.
Well,
your prom was a
Dave didn't go to
disaster.
his prom. He told me that, so we gotta get that squared away for him.
You didn't go to your prom?
No,
You had too many options for dates, right? And you just couldn't decide.
I didn't want to disappoint so many girls.
Well, that's, of course.
I mean, because girls, they would be dancing with their date, longingly staring at you, wishing you were the guy they were dancing with.
You would cause a lot of problems for other relationships if you showed up, right?
And then there might be a guy that wants to, because he's jealous of you and your game. There might be a fight, and then you're going to have to hurt somebody.
And then they were like, "Oh no, you can't graduate because you got in a fight at prom." And
Right. You didn't
it's
need
a
all that
lot
smoke.
of
You
complications.
didn't need all that those problems, Dave. I see why you didn't go.
Yeah, and the my high karate cologne ran out, so
You don't know about high karate cologne, do you?
Give me a comparison to today.
Oh, jeez.
something you find on the shelf at
All right,
Dollar
what's the stuff?
Tree.
What's the stuff you find at Five Below?
Oh, that
Put on.
that smells like gasoline.
Yes. Well, they had this stuff called Chaps that was like smelled like smelled like a barn. Remember that, Chaps? Smelled like a barn. And high karate, it was bad, man. It was bad. But their commercials were great because a guy, when you put on high karate, so many women wanted you. You had to set up the karate pose and fight them off. Remember, Dave?
Hold on. How much do you think high karate is going for on eBay right now?
$1.50.
Dave, you want to take a guess?
Well, if it's an original bottle, it's probably there's a lot of nostalgia for that. So
Yeah.
I'd say $5.45.
$5.45.
Yeah.
Try $350
Oh.
for a
Oh, my.
2 high
Vintage.
karate and ginseng aftershave and all-purpose lotion kit.
Vintage, Dave. Vintage high karate. You could pay $550 to
And
smell
it,
like that.
it looks like gasoline.
It's awful. I'll tell you this real quick. Skin Bracer was like that too. Men's Skin. Remember Men's Skin Bracer, Dave?
Yeah, 5 minutes. That was
So, we had a sales manager named Marv.
Okay.
Think about you ever see WKRP in Cincinnati?
Yeah.
He's Herb Tarlin.
Okay. All right.
He had the suit and everything. He was Herb Tarlin. So he got me in a Christmas exchange. We used to do these Christmas exchanges, and I opened up my gift, and it was a bottle of Skin Bracer by Menon.
Okay.
And so we're dying laughing. Myself and all the jocks, we're dying. So we're all putting it on. We all put a little dab on and run around and smell like Menon. We're just goofing around, And the women were like, "Oh God, you guys smell so sexy." So we're just being stupid. So I put it away, and I forget it's even in my cubicle, right?
Right.
2 years later, I get Marv in the gift exchange. And I'm like, "Oh my God, I think I saw that bottle of Skin Bracer." So I get it, and you can see I've used it a little
Just
bit.
barely.
So I put water in it, shook it up, wrapped it back up, gave it to him. He opened it up, and he's like, "My God, Terry, Skin Bracer? You didn't have to do that. I love this stuff. I love it." And he's like, giving me this big bear hug and everything, and I'm trying not to laugh. He's like, "Man, how'd you know that? That's fantastic."
I guess that's the equivalent of my generation with Axe body spray.
Yes.
So, like, there's a period, obviously, when you're in, like, middle school where you're starting to change and you start to
Stink.
smell really bad.
Right.
And everybody's go-to was Axe body spray. And again, in the commercials, oh man, the ladies love Axe body spray. Yeah, that's definitely going to cover those 5 pounds of sweat you had from gym class. And as you grow older, you start to realize, no, women don't like Axe body spray at all.
No.
So-
those commercials lied to you, Tyler.
So I think that's the equivalent of like my generation with Axe body spray. Like, oh yeah, the ladies definitely going to love that. Like, no, they actually don't.
It's funny because my two oldest, they're around your age.
Yeah.
And they did the Axe body spray.
We all did.
And they honest to God, I do believe they took it in the shower with them.
Because we obviously we couldn't shower
Right.
after gym class. We don't do that in today's age. So literally everybody, they changed back. We all changed back into our school clothes because you had gym at 10:30 in the morning. You had 4 other classes the rest of the day, and you just spray from head to toe. Underneath everything, inside of everything, and you were a walking cloud of Axe body spray the rest of the day, while also still sweating.
I'll tell you, that we've gone down way too many rabbit holes in this segment that we can't get back, but trust me, the fact you can't shower, I'd rather walk around smelling than going through the humiliation of what it was like in a middle school shower.
Oh.
Did you guys shower in middle school, Dave, after gym?
Oh, yes, required.
We had a gym teacher named Mr. Brown.
I think there's laws against that.
Yeah,
now.
there should be, because back then it was humiliating. So you are 13. You and a bunch of 13-year-olds going
because you can totally behave yourself, right?
Oh, absolutely. And so you're going through the maze that is the middle school shower.
Yes.
And we had a gym teacher named Mr. Brown, and his job was to be the shower supervisor. And he had this big window with no glass, and he would just sit there and watch all the 13-year-old boys shower to make sure they weren't doing anything. It wasn't creepy at all, Tyler.
I could see how that would be a problem.
It was I'm telling you, it was the creepiest. The joke in where I grew up, and anybody who went to my middle school, was Mr. Brown. We'll leave it at that. But yes, you're not missing anything with the lack of showering in middle school.
Good to know. Good to know.
And all the football linemen would pop you with the towels, and boom.
Dude, getting snapped with a towel is a painful thing.
It sure is.
Especially
Painful
a wet one.
Oh, it was awful. Anyway, what were we talking about? Oh, yeah. All right. So, did you hit the transfer portal stuff and everything?
Yes. Well, we got Isaiah Gustave out of Colorado. And, again, this doesn't have any bearing at this time over what's happening with Joel Faison, but it's a good emergency strategy should you not get him eligible.
Right. If worse comes to worse and Faison gets eligible, which we all think will happen,
Do we?
Yeah, I'm a glass half full guy, and you're not. You're a negative.
Well, it's
guy.
only been 6 months, and we haven't heard anything.
By the way, it's ridiculous. By the way, Zakai Ziegler got turned down. He got denied.
I did see that today.
Yeah, I mean, that's not to mean that has anything with Faison. It's totally different.
He's been playing college basketball
10
for
years.
10 years.
Right. I mean, Zakai Ziegler has kids, like grandkids. So at 115, Adam Munstertiger, like the cheese and the big cat. Munstertiger.
What a name.
I know. That's why I had to ask him, how do we say your name? Adam Munstertiger from 24/7, who covers University of Colorado, will give us a little rundown on the new running back.
He's had a few things to write about these past couple of years?
Nah, it's been kind of dull. Well, think about what he didn't have to write about forever.
That's true.
My man's actually happy.
You get Dion plopped in your lap.
Exactly. So we will talk with Adam about the new running back coming in through the portal for South Carolina. And yeah, if nothing else, it's protection in case Faison isn't eligible. But if he is eligible, it's now depth.
Yeah, that's great.
So and to be fair, I know you probably broke it down. How many yards he had after contact, because that Colorado offensive line so god awful.
And Arkansas too. So his total career yardage in college football, all 75% has come after contact.
Yep.
75%.
Yep. Now he is not a breakaway, go to the house guy. He only had like 2 runs, like that you would call of any kind of distance.
Yeah,
he's a between the tackle guy,
one cut kind of guy. He'll take the handoff, go to the left, and then it's kind of straightforward after that.
Most of his yards are between the tackles. Matter of fact, going around the tackles, his numbers aren't anything special. But again, to be fair, the offensive line, the run game scheme, but just from the numbers we can look at, he's a between the tackles guy, it seems.
You could be the next Barry Sanders, and if I hand you the ball and you got a guy immediately in your face, you're going to have a tough time making a lot happen there.
When you got 6 defenders standing there going, you want to hit him, you want me to hit him? Who wants to hit him? Rock, paper, scissors. So I think it's a solid get. This time of year, it's a really solid get.
Yeah. And
at this point.
Again, it comes out of nowhere because you don't typically get pickups to this point during the summer, but you'll take it. Obviously, you had the room to add, and again, who knows when the Faison eligibility ruling is going to come down, so why not?
Yep. So, good move. For no other reason, if you get Faison, then you got some depth. And if not, then you got a guy that might end up in your rotational situation. Because right now, look, this could change, obviously. If you look at it without Faison, Oscar Attaway was a nice 1B compliment to Rocket Sanders last year.
Sure.
But I don't look at Attaway at this point saying, well, he would then be your, what's that old saying, the bell cow guy?
Yeah.
He wouldn't be your workhorse. He would be in the mix. So would, Howell, and so would Fuller. And, then if you bring in the transfer, you have then you got Ivan in the mix or whatever.
You'd be looking at 4 backs in a back by committee type approach. And look, if somebody pops off and looks like a star, then okay, then that becomes your RB1. If not, you just continue to rotate through those guys and use them situationally based on their skill set. Like you're not a bad plan.
I mean, and then if you add, it's Augustave, right?
Augustave. We'll get Tiger Munster Tiger to give us the proper pronunciation.
I mean, Augustave's nothing compared to Munster Tiger.
Yeah.
But I almost called him Isaiah Munster Tiger. Oh, this segment's just gone in the dumper.
Yeah.
Anyway, Isaiah.
It's the middle of June. It's okay.
Augustave. But you put Augustave in with this rotation, if you don't have Faison, you're just building depth, and hopefully somebody, whether it's through the season or just that day, he's the guy that is the hot hand, whatever the case.
Sure.
So, anyway, good solid move this time of year by the Gamecocks. Just in case you just missed it, NBA Finals, Indiana. And also, look, I am not a soccer guy, but I love the soap opera of soccer off the pitch. We'll get to that next, too, right here on the Halftime Show on the Game. All right, just in case you just woke up here on the halftime show, I'm going to have to start sitting down, man. This just isn't
I was
working
going to
for me.
say, you're craning your neck. I'm worried about you.
Screw it. I can tell you're concerned.
What is your reasoning for not wanting to sit down? By the way, this is weird looking.
That's creepy now. Very bizarre. Honestly, look, I just feel like I'm more conversational naturally, and I have more energy when
Are
I'm
you
standing
trying to
up.
let out the jitters for your 8 cups of coffee that you drink a day?
I just go. I get rid of that. Well, we can't really talk about that
Yeah.
right now. We're going to skip that whole conversation. I was trying to put it in a nice way, and there's no nice way to put it. But no,
You know, if you had an Apple Watch, it would tell you to stand once an hour.
Anyway, like I was saying, Tyler.
I don't know if I want my watch telling me everything about my health constantly.
Yeah, have you ever seen the movie with Joaquin Phoenix and Scarlett Johansson, and she is the operating system, and he falls in love with his operating system on his Apple phone or Apple whatever it
Who
is,
can blame him?
tablet.
Scarlett Johansson.
I mean, again, Scarlett Johansson. I forget the name of the movie.
It's not her, is it?
Yes,
Is it? Was that was
It's
Joaquin
her.
Phoenix?
that was Joaquin Phoenix, if I remember.
Oh man.
And Scarlett Johansson was the voice of the operating system.
Okay.
And by the way, well, I don't care if I ruin this or not, because who cares? You know you're a loser when your operating system dumps you.
Oh,
I'll leave it at that.
one that has no feelings.
Yes. And by the way, I'm the way Dave is about his Apple Watch. I think we're going to see her too.
Is that true, Dave?
You know, there is an AI app that you can, like an
Dave,
AI girlfriend.
you can do a lot with AI these days.
Whatever you want to do, Dave. This is why, again, when Dave leaves, we don't want to know what happens with Dave. Just in case you just woke up.
Tell that to the girl on the bus, Dave.
And again, Golden Corral, Dave. 2 words. Free buffet. Just saying.
Yeah.
Fringe benefits.
Or at least a discount.
Fringe benefits, Dave. This is the point in life when you start dating, when you start looking at things like that.
What can you do for me?
Yes, it's second level now. It's not like
Like,
when you were younger and there were other reasons to date people. Now it's like, all right, what can I get out of this deal? I can get free buffet.
Sure.
Good deal. That's nice.
Dave, you could, I don't know, probably hook her up with some concert tickets or something.
Yeah, or sweet deals.
Sweet. Does she like craft beer?
That's
We
right.
have a
Get
card.
craft beer card.
It's perks.
All right. Yeah, you get me free buffet, I get you a craft beer card.
It's like when you start a new job, you're like, okay, what's the benefits package here?
That's what you got to sit down and negotiate, Dave, with the girl on the bus. Anyway, all right. So last night, Indiana grinds out a 116-107 win over Oklahoma City, and they did it by basically taking this game over in the fourth quarter.
Yeah. The best quarter that they played. But here's the thing. They actually played pretty good in the first 3 quarters as well. Great back and forth game. A lot of ties. A lot of leads going back and forth. And, it's amazing. You're like, hey, there's 3 other quarters you're allowed to play good in, not just the fourth.
And the funny thing was, it's just because Oklahoma City took the lead at the end of the third quarter with a little bit of a run. And then Indiana first of all, they made shots, tons of shots in the fourth quarter. They also, some hustle plays, some offensive rebounds. Oklahoma City last night turned the ball over 17 times. That's typically not Oklahoma City. They don't do that.
Right.
And this is the kind of thing you need, though, if you want to hang with a team that's really better than you. Benedict Mathern, who played at Arizona, he was a first-round pick a few years ago. Very streaky dude. 27 points in 22 minutes last night. 9 of 12 from the floor, 2 of 3 from three-point range. Mathern was huge in the fourth quarter.
Yeah, and the Pacers bench dominated in this one, which, again, they didn't go super deep into their bench, but the guys they had out there were very, very effective. And this gets really interesting because, again, the thought process going into the series was Oklahoma City is just a better overall team. Yeah, the Pacers may be able to steal a game or so, but it shouldn't be too much trouble for Oklahoma City. You steal game number 1 in Oklahoma City. Okay, all right, cool, crazy game, whatever. Now you're up 2-1. And if they get up 3-1 with game number 4, which, by the way, I think 80% of the teams in the past 40 years that win 2 out of the first 3 typically go on to win the whole thing. So Pacers sitting kind of pretty right now.
Well, their bench, to your point, outscored, and Oklahoma City's got a really good bench too. 49-18, Indiana won the bench points last night. And Pacers shot, 52% from the floor, 86% from the line. I mean, Indiana, especially that fourth quarter,
Yeah.
when they basically won the game. Oklahoma City, as good as they are, they've had trouble in fourth quarters closing games or holding leads.
Well, because a lot of games they've just blown people out.
And
Hasn't been tight.
And sometimes when you're not playing a lot of tight games, you're not used to playing tight games. So they've scuffled when games have been tight in the fourth quarter, not just regular season, but postseason as well. To what you just said, if you're Oklahoma City, look, you can come back from 3-1. It's not impossible, but like you said, the odds are stacked against you down 3-1.
Sure.
And Oklahoma City can absolutely win Game 4 in Indianapolis. It's not like they can't. But I almost feel like I'm not going to go must win because you can come back from 3-1.
Mm-hmm.
But to me, it's one of those, it's in your best interest
Yes.
to win Game 4.
Yes.
If not, you're on red alert. It's code red.
Yeah.
It's a code red. So if you're Oklahoma City, you got to get it together. Indiana, we forget this. Look, I picked Oklahoma City to win the series. I figured they'd win in 6.
Most people thought
They're the better team. I thought Indiana could win a couple. I could see a 3-2 scenario where Oklahoma City wins Game 6 and it's a wrap at 3-2. That's the way I thought it would go because they're just better. But that being said, the second best team in the NBA after the 1st of January was the Indiana Pacers. So if they win this series, I'm not shocked.
And I think they are now have won their last 10 games coming off of a loss, too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they bounced back. And again, still think Oklahoma City's going to win the series, but
It got more interesting.
it got a lot more interesting. And something we keep forgetting, and I've brought this up multiple times, the guy sitting on the Pacer bench with the shaved head, the middle-aged dude, won an NBA title as a head coach in Dallas when they beat LeBron, D-Wade, Bosh, and the Heat. Rick Carlisle's a really good head coach. We keep forgetting that for some reason.
Yeah.
So, and it's nothing against Dagnall at Oklahoma City. He's a good head coach as well, but he doesn't have a ring from being the guy that coached the team to it.
That's true.
So the Pacers are dangerous, is what I'm trying to say. If you're Oklahoma City, you don't want to go down 3-1 in this mess.
Yeah.
I don't care if you're going home for Game 5, because then you still got to find a way to steal the Game 6 in Indiana. You just want to win. Then all of a sudden, you got your home court advantage back. So anyway, last night, phenomenal deal by Indiana, and Tyrese Halliburton stepped up again, 22 points, also dished out 11 dimes, pulled down 9 boards, just missed a triple-double. When Halliburton's locked in, Pacers are a totally different team. They just are.
Mm-hmm.
And so last night, give props to Indiana. They pull out a 116-107 win. They're now up 2-1 in the NBA Finals. I got to get this kooky story because it's a kooky story. I own it. I'm not a soccer guy. Don't sit and watch English Premier League. Don't care about MLS. I will have the World Cup on because it's a big event and whatever. But I'm not my bag, soccer. But I'm gonna tell you this: I'm all in with the off the field, off the pitch drama of soccer.
Sure.
Those divas are great, man. It's reality TV / old school soap opera all wrapped up in one. We've had the mess with the U.S. soccer team and Landon Donovan and Cedric and Clint Dempsey and all those guys. All right, so Poland's national soccer team, Robert Lewandowski is one of the best players in the world. He's Polish. He's taking a sabbatical from playing for the Polish national team right now. So the coach of the Polish national team, I'm gonna screw up his name, Mikel Probiers or Probiers or whatever his name is, didn't strip his captaincy.
Mm-hmm.
So Lewandowski said, guess what? I'm done. I'm not playing anymore.
Bye.
So guess what? Polish coach resigned today. Lewandowski said he was not going to play as long as this guy's the coach.
My superstar player will not play as long as I'm here. I don't think I have a job anymore.
Well, you know what happened? The Polish Soccer Federation showed up at old Michael or Mikhail's door.
We have to choose between you and him. It's him.
It's him, dude. One of the best players in the world or you lose. So, just in case you just woke up, we'll come back. Firehouse Subtext, the hour, 803-404-6100. Halftime show. David Ayer, Tyler Head, Terry Ford till 3 on the game. All right. Hey, I'm sitting down, man. Don't be punching me there, dude. What are you
I'm
doing?
sorry, you're in my swing zone.
You know what, though? You're not used to this.
So
I'm not either.
It's really funny because when my wife and I go to restaurants, she'll like to sit next to me sometimes instead of across from me, and I don't realize it, but when I eat, I guess my elbows are bowed out a lot, and she's like, "You're gonna smack me in the face if you're not careful." I'm like, "What? You're just
Well, you have long-
I got long arms.
You got long
I have
arms.
a very long wingspan.
What's your wingspan, you think?
I've actually never measured.
Because you're like 6'2", right?
I'm 6'2", so yeah, I have a very long wingspan. So yes, if you're
Yeah.
next to me, you're gonna
So
get caught.
I'm
at
the
some
same
point.
way. I have a wing, like I'm between 6'1" and 6'2". My wingspan was like 6'5" or something.
Yeah.
6'4", 6'5". So you and I sitting here close
Yeah.
to each other,
Yeah, it's
not gonna be good.
At least when you're standing up, you're over there and
was over
you're kind of
there.
out of the way. But yeah,
Right. So this will take some adjusting. Me sitting here now, because I was gonna have I was gonna be wearing a neck brace in like a few days. From
Yeah, so
trying to
you're
crane my neck
craning
around.
over.
'Cause I want to stand up.
I was worried about you.
You know, I guess I'll take a kick for the good of the cause here in the video stream. All right, Firehouse Sub text the hour 803-404-6100. What do you got there, man?
A nameless texter did also confirm that movie was Her with Joaquin Phoenix. I guess they did his makeup really well because I never saw the movie, but I saw the previews and trailers and stuff, and I would have never thought that was Joaquin Phoenix.
I'm going to say this. Dave, did you ever see the movie? Her?
No,
By the way,
I'm
great
going
cast.
to now.
Like a lot of big names.
It's really
in this
good.
movie.
Honestly, the cast is really good. The movie's creepy, but the creepiest part of the creepy is because, Joaquin Phoenix is falling in love with his operating system,
Sure.
voiced by Scarlett Johansson. So I guess she fancies him, and there is a romantic scene.
Like with the physical computer.
The movie goes dark,
Okay,
and you
good.
just hear them.
Okay, or him and
You hear him and her,
the
her and
operating
him.
system.
Yes.
Is it one of those? Because when I saw the trailer for it, I was like, I feel like I know a couple people this could happen to.
Oh, absolutely. I said David. I said there were people that. Oh yeah, absolutely. There are people.
Because we all know that person that spends too much time on their computer. Like again, we do it for the purposes of our job, but like there's some people that just spend their entire day on it.
I mean, there's some people who get the weather from their Apple Watch.
Yeah,
Tells you exactly when it's going to rain.
Dave, do we need to take your Apple Watch from you?
I think Dave would fall apart. Dave would fall apart emotionally and mentally if we took his Apple. If Dave lost his Apple Watch.
Dave, how often do you talk to Siri? Be honest.
Constantly.
What is the depth of the conversation?
Siri, what's up? No, it's like, when's
Dave,
it going to rain?
I think you need to watch the movie Her.
Probably.
I think just what we think.
Well, that movie came out like what, 10?
Oh, it's got to be 10,
15 years
12,
ago?
15 years ago.
2013.
Yeah,
So
it's been a
predicted
minute.
the future.
It's been a minute or two. Yeah, it's a weird movie. You just
look there's you can read, there are people that fall in love with like AI chatbots.
oh yeah.
Like that's a real thing.
Well, there are people I'm sure who are having romantic thoughts about AI in general.
Well,
You know what
again,
I'm saying?
you can do anything you
Yes,
want with
you
AI now.
Yes, you can.
It's not,
Yes, you
these
can.
crude, very unrealistic looking things. You can make things look very real.
Yes. Thank you, Texter. You're right about that. That movie was something quite weird. I'm telling you, there were moments of that movie were creepy. I looked at my girlfriend. I said, when it was over, I said, never
You're
again.
like, hey, be nice to me.
That's right. I could end up with
I got
Scarlett
options.
Johansson's voice in an operating system. All right, a lot of football in the 1 o'clock hour, sponsored by Atlantic Windows and Doors. That's next here on the Halftime Show on the game in Columbia, Florence, and Myrtle Beach. Halftime show, like always, we yap a ton of football in the 1 o'clock hour, sponsored by Atlantic Windows and Doors here on The Game. Terry Ford, Tyler Head, David Dare. Coming up, Adam Munster Tiger, 24/7. Will hop in with us to talk about the new transfer portal edition, Isaiah Augustov from Colorado, running back. 3-star-ish coming out of high school.
I think it was a 4.
Was he a 4?
Yeah, went to Arkansas first.
Went to Arkansas first. I remember that, and then transferred to. I remember when he transferred to Colorado. It was like, oh, this is a good deal. This could be their
It was a part
starter.
Of, another massive offseason portal haul they had last year, and again, year number 2 for Dion was obviously better. The offensive line wasn't much better, but still.
Because Isaiah only ran for just tick under 400 yards, like 384 or whatever
4 touchdowns.
it was. 4.5 yards a pop.
Most of their offense was just throwing the ball and Shedeur Sanders running for his life.
Yeah. Augustov, I mean, if you look at his stats, the breakdown of rushing by direction, first of all, you hit it. 75% of his yards are after contact. It's insane. Most of his damage was done between the tackles. That's really, honestly, between the guards. If you look at the breakdown by direction, he had 21 of his 81 carries off a left guard, 10 carries middle right between the center and the right guard, and off the right guard between the right guard and the right tackle, and then right up the middle he had 8. So 49 of his 81 carries were in that area. So he's a guy that worked a lot between the tackles and broke a lot of tackles, had a lot of yards after contact. Let's see, runs of over 10 yards, had 6 in 81 carries. But again, we've always got to think about offensive line and run game system, to be fair. But 4.5 yards a pop behind a bad offensive line and about 75% of your yards after contact, those are pretty solid numbers.
Yeah, I think there's optimism that if you give him, and again, Carolina's had their own problems with the offensive line, so he's not coming into a Joe Moore winning room necessarily, but if you can give him decent protection up front, maybe.
So Isaiah Augustov, and we'll make sure that is the correct way to say it. We'll find out at 1:15. Adam Munster Tiger with us from 24/7 Sports, who covers the Buffs. All right, so we now know some kick times, Tyler Head.
Yes, we do.
And we start off obviously with Clemson. That will be a noon kick on Saturday at Williams-Brice on November 29th.
A lot of split opinions on that one.
Now, last year was a 3:30, right?
No, last year was
O'Hara's, or was it noon?
The past 2 games they've won have been noon kicks, both at Clemson.
The night game they lost.
Came here at night, a tight game, but they lost. So there's last couple noon games you won. But obviously, Willie B is at its best at night. Rival adds layers to that. I can understand I'd rather have all day to build up to what, let's be honest, could be a huge matchup if both teams end up being as good as we think they can be.
This thing could be like last year. Last year, South Carolina was playing to stay in contention for the college football playoff, and so was Clemson. So really, it ended up being not an elimination game because of what happened, with Miami and SMU. But at that point, we thought Clemson got knocked out.
Yeah, we thought that was a playoff eliminator. I think it was later in the day when Syracuse beat Miami to give Clemson the spot. So again, that being out of the playoff only lasted a little while for them. Obviously played their way in by winning the championship, but last year was the highest stakes that series had ever had, because in all the years that Clemson played and won national championships, South Carolina was never quite on that level. And even in the years where both teams were winning 10, 11 games, no time did they ever go into that game where both teams still had national championship opportunities. Yeah,
so this could be a ginormous game at the end of 2025, and it'll be a noon kick. Obviously, the 3 p.m. ESPN starts the season on August 31st against Virginia Tech. Once you go through this thing, again, as much as we like Willie B at night, there's only 2 definite night games, South Carolina State and Vandy. Back-to-back, by the way.
Yes, right. First 2 home games after the Virginia Tech game to open the season. So I have a feeling you're going to have a couple more, just given, obviously, what you have in a night experience here and the high-profile matchups. Like, if I'm betting, I would think the Alabama game's probably going to be a night kick. Like, I have a strong feeling about that.
Yeah, I mean, could it be in that sweet spot, 3:30 to 4:30 window, maybe, but also there's a shot for a night game against Bama, which would be phenomenal.
I prefer 3:30. That is my optimal kick time. I love the 3:30 kick.
Well, it's right in the middle.
Right in the middle.
So you don't waste all day waiting or tailgating for a kickoff, but when it's over, you can still watch some night games.
Exactly. Like, night games are fun. You are waiting all day and then getting home at, midnight or later sometimes.
And so for the purpose of fan experience and atmosphere, obviously you'd love to have the Alabama game at night at Willie B. That would be great. But again, 3:30, 4:30 window is not terrible for that game.
Yeah.
Early window at home for A&M. Afternoon window
That's
for Coastal.
at A&M.
At A&M.
At A&M.
Oh, that's right. I didn't see the at symbol. Okay. They put at there, not the symbol. My
Yeah.
bad.
Yeah, typo.
All right. So let's go through here with the home games. All right, we went through the Kentucky game. Could be a night game or it could be an afternoon game. It's in the flex window. So is Oklahoma's early. That's going to be a noon or 1 o'clock kickoff on October 18th against Oklahoma. Bama game we just talked about. Coastal will be an afternoon window, 3:30 to 4:30 game, and Clemson's a nooner. So you got 2 night games, and you might have 2 more,
Yes.
possibly.
Yes.
So that's the way this whole thing breaks down. Now on the road, you're at Missouri. That's a flex. Could be afternoon or night game in Columbia, Missouri. At LSU, you don't want a night game in Baton Rouge.
So Wes and Chris and I were having this debate a little bit earlier. They were both in the camp of, if you're going to beat LSU, beat them at their best. Why not beat them at 7 o'clock when the lights are on? The 100,000 people are at full throat. If you can come out of there with the win, that's a heck of a win. But I look at it as like, what benefits South Carolina the most? I'm like, play them at 3:30.
Absolutely, I'm with you. I mean, God love Wes and Chris. I get you.
Sure, I get it.
You want to walk in there? I get it.
And if you're planning on going to the game, maybe you want to experience Tiger Stadium at its best, sure. But if I'm like, okay, where are we finding wins at? Yes, 3:30, please.
I want the 3:30 game in Baton Rouge. I'm with you. At Ole Miss, again, it could be an afternoon game or a night game. It just depends what will happen in the Grove. At A&M is an early window game, noon to 1. So that's where the whole thing plays itself out on the road as well. And look, Ole Miss. At Ole Miss, does again, that doesn't carry the reputation at night that like here or LSU or whatever.
That's one of those whatever it ends up being.
Either way,
you're probably fine.
Yeah, either way. Now, when you look at the road games, and look, we have a long way to go. Obviously, Missouri should be a good team this year. LSU should be a good team this year. Ole Miss should be a good team this year. A&M should be a good team this year. So you got 4 road games where you're probably not going to be favored.
Probably not. Again, do everything to help yourself out by not playing LSU at 7 or 7:30. I'm in the camp for that. But, and look, we know South Carolina's got a tough schedule every single year. I think the SP Plus had it at 15th overall, which is pretty low considering most years. And, again, we base so much off of these teams based on what they were last year.
Yep.
And a team like Oklahoma has the opportunity to be way better than they were last year to make that game even trickier.
I mean, and that's the point, is we just don't know. And we don't know even more than we didn't know before because of transfer portal and because of all the things that happen with these players, and teams are being made over every year. And like, who saw Vanderbilt coming last year? Nobody. Nobody. Look, if you would have said, and you always had that buddy, some dude sitting in a bar in Nashville looked over a guy, you know what? I think Vanderbilt's going to be Alabama.
Yeah.
And that's when they said, okay, we're going to get you an Uber.
There's inevitably the one guy that goes to the sports book and cashes Vanderbilt to win the national championship every single year, hoping he gets it right this year.
And he took that same guy took them to beat Bama.
Last year was the best chance they had.
Yep.
In a while. And again, they ended up still being a 500 team, which, considering years past, that's better for them. Again, they could be the next great thing in the SEC, or they could go back to being Vanderbilt again by the time that game rolls around in week 3. We don't know.
Okay, so let's go over this. Let's play this game to that point.
Sure.
Virginia Tech last year, better or worse than we thought they were going to be? Worse.
Worse.
They were everybody's darling in the ACC as a dark horse.
Brent Pry on the hot seat.
Yep. Okay, Vanderbilt was better than we thought.
Yes.
Missouri we thought they were going to be good.
Yeah.
They were good. So
I think we maybe expect them to step back a little bit. They won 10 games
they're
again.
still good. Kentucky, worse than we thought.
Way worse than we thought.
LSU, worse than we thought.
Yep.
Oklahoma, worse than we thought. Alabama, worse than we thought. Ole Miss they were good, but they didn't make the college football playoff, to be fair. But they were good
Considering the
team.
expectations worse than we thought they were going to be.
Right. A&M was better than I thought they would be. A little bit, maybe.
About
a little
about where most expected them to be.
Coastal, we're not worried about the Coastal right now. Coastal season was okay.
Yep.
They had a winning record. And then Clemson last year, they made the college football playoff.
Yeah. Did we expect that, though?
No.
Not really.
So maybe they were a little bit better than we thought, to be fair.
Yeah. We thought the 9-win season the year before meant they were kind of trending in the wrong direction.
Yeah. So most of those teams we just went over weren't as good as we thought they were going to be last year on the schedule.
Right.
So we really don't know what we don't know. Like, we're sitting here thinking, well, Virginia Tech, probably middle of the road. Vandy, middle of the road at best. Missouri will be good, we think. Kentucky, we think the end of the Mark Stoops era is coming.
Yeah.
Because they were so bad last year. LSU, we think, is going to be really good, but we thought that last year. Oklahoma, we think, is going to be better because they seem like they went out in the portal and fixed their problems. We'll see. We think Alabama should be better, but we have a huge question mark at quarterback in Ty Simpson. Who knows? Ole Miss, we don't think is going to be as good as last year. We just don't. Texas A&M, we think they're Texas A&M. We always just go, they'll win 8 games.
That's true.
But they're talented. They could be better than we think. And Clemson is being looked at as a top 5 team in America. So we'll find out about all of it.
We will.
But
And
what we know is we really don't know.
I can tell you one thing. October is going to be vitally important once again.
Yep, it seems to be that way, right? LSU on the road, Oklahoma at home, Alabama here. I mean, those 3 games against 3 really good teams. And then November 1st is Ole Miss.
Yeah.
Beamer's teams have always been really good in November, have had some issues in October. So we'll see what happens. But in the schedule in November, you go to Ole Miss, you go to A&M, back-to-back roadies, you get Coastal and Clemson at home. So, but what we know is right now we have 2 for sure night games, and it could possibly flex into a couple more.
Yeah.
At Willie B.
We'll see.
We talk a lot of football in the 1 o'clock hour, always sponsored by Atlantic Windows and Doors here on the game. David Ayer, Terry Ford, Tyler Head. There is, and I can't believe I'm saying this out loud, a congressional bill that is going to go through or attempted to go through Congress to do the things that college football wants. We will discuss that next.
Or we're talking to our guy next.
Oh, I'm sorry.
We're talking to our guy next.
Thank you. I'm the guy that booked him for
Munster
the
Tiger.
Munster Tiger. We're gonna get the down low on the new South Carolina running back. And we're gonna get it from someone who covered Colorado last year. Aaron Munster Tiger from 24/7. I know. I'm losing my mind. I'm sitting down. It's totally discombobulated
Go to
myself.
the men's clinic, please.
Isaiah Custom is the running back. We're going to have Aaron Munster Tiger from 24/7 Sports tell us all about it. That is next here on the halftime show with David Ayer and Terry Ford and Tyler Head on the game. Obviously, every day on the 1 o'clock hour, we yap football here on the halftime show, sponsored by Atlantic Windows and Doors. Terry Ford, Tyler Head, David Dare, who not only produces this award-winning program, but also is Captain Dave.
Yes, and there's a reason he has that name.
We put him in the traffic copter, and what do you got? You got like a massive accident backup thing, real quick before we move forward.
Yeah, I-77 northbound Blythewood Road. The backup goes all the way back past Wilson Boulevard. That's 5.5 miles.
Jeez.
Traffic moving, when it moves, about 3 miles an hour.
Oh, nice. All right.
So,
Appreciate you there, bud. Good job, Captain Dave, and the traffic copter.
If you're listening while you're sitting in that, get comfortable.
Because you'll be there a while. But you can hear all about the new transfer portal running back.
You've come in at the right time.
Yes, you have. If you want info, we're now going to give you info on Isaiah Augustov. We think we're going to find out. Adam Munster Tiger, who covers Colorado for 24/7 Sports. My man, we appreciate you jumping in on short notice, Adam. So, real quick, by the way, don't drive that area we just told you. Stay away from there. But and we appreciate you jumping in short notice. So give us a little background on Isaiah now that we see we'll be having him in a Gamecock uniform.
Yeah, no, it's great to be on with you guys. I did a story at the beginning of this offseason about 10 Buffalo players that were primed to really make a big jump and be focal points of the Colorado program in 2025. And number one on that list was Isaiah Augustov. I was impressed with him. Obviously, Colorado as a team really struggled to run the football. They, the last 2 years, ranked dead last in the FBS ranks in terms of rushing offense, but it goes beyond kind of Isaiah Augustov's talent. Obviously, he was dealing with some injuries last year, and when he was out there, he was pretty productive. I thought he was Colorado's best running back when he was out there last year. And I thought that going back to his first camp last August with the Buffaloes as a transfer from Arkansas, and I was kind of questioning, some folks that I know in the program that, like, why is Augustov not number one on the depth chart here? And at that point, it was that he was having issues putting the football on the ground. He was fumbling during camp and get early in the season against Colorado State. He told then running backs coach Gary Harrell that, hey, that's not going to happen again. It didn't the rest of the season. So that was an area that was a struggle for him last year that he got better at. But as a 6'2", 210 back, usually those guys sometimes can be, targets to not be able to get that extra yard or two because they're kind of a bigger target. But one of the things that really impressed me about Augustov was just the fact that he was able to get that extra yard or two every time he would hit contact. So he was a loss for Colorado's program and certainly somebody that should have a nice career there at South Carolina.
Hey, Adam, thanks for doing this again on such short notice. When I look at Augustov's numbers through his time at Colorado and Arkansas prior to that, nothing really that jumps off the page at you that's really going to wow you. But I know that both Colorado and Arkansas had bad offensive lines, to say the least, in his 2 seasons in college so far. How much do you feel like Colorado's line held him back last year for what he could have potentially done with maybe some better blocking up front?
Yeah, there's no question that Colorado's offensive line struggled last season. But honestly, I would put it more on just a philosophical situation going on offensively. You had Shedeur Sanders at quarterback and 4 receivers that are now, trying their hand at the NFL. And so you were going 10 personnel a lot. And they just, as much as they would, every time the media members, myself included, would ask these coaches about trying to be more well-balanced in getting that ground game going, you never saw that consistently on Saturdays. And so it was really hard for any running back to get into a rhythm. And so for Augustov, I would say it's more about opportunity. That first year at Arkansas, he had over, I think it was 101 yards in one game. And he definitely is a guy that could develop into a feature back in a Power 4 conference program. But at this point, it's more about the potential than it is about what's on paper in terms of what's proven. But I think you take a chance on somebody like that. And I would be surprised if Augustive, and I talked to him about this last year, his motivation is his little girl. He's got a daughter. And so he is somebody that's maturing pretty quickly. And I would be surprised if he's not somebody that's heavily in the mix there as far as the running back rotation with the Gamecocks.
Adam Muster-Tiger hanging out with us from 24/7 Sports here on the halftime show on The Game as we talk football in the 1 o'clock hour, sponsored by Atlantic Windows and Doors. Adam, when we take a look a little bit more into the numbers of Augustive, a lot of damage was done between the tackles. Not a lot of long runs in his opportunities that he did have. Give us a little rundown on Augustive. We know he has a lot of yards after contact. We saw that. Is he more of a guy that, again, more workmanlike between the tackles, a guy that's not going to break a lot of big plays? Or give us a little bit of the running style for Augustive.
Yeah, I mean, first off, with him, you got to talk about, I mentioned the fumble issues. It seems like he's improved from that. Pass protection is an area that he's improved in. As far as just a straight-up runner, I think if you give Isaiah Augustive 20 carries, against most teams, he's going to get over that 100-yard barrier. He's pretty consistent. He just has not really gotten that consistent effort back from the coaches, right? And I talked about that with the play calling at Colorado last year. There were so many of us that kind of saw his talents that were clamoring for him to have that 20-yard, that 20-carry game, and see what that would manifest itself into. So he's a big back. He can run through contact. He knows when to lower the shoulders at the right time, and so he should be somebody that folks out there enjoy watching the next few years. He's still, again, a little bit of an unproven commodity from a consistency standpoint because he hasn't gotten that opportunity. So anxious to see what he does with it if he does get it there at South Carolina.
Caught a few balls out of the backfield last year, but not a huge part of the offense. When it came to the air game, what can you tell us about his hands, and is there potential for that to be improved upon?
Yeah, they didn't do a whole lot with the running backs in the passing game. They like I said earlier, there were 10 personnel with 4 guys that are now in the NFL playing receiver. So they didn't utilize that position a ton out of the backfield. He did catch a few passes and was fine in that area. I wouldn't be able to give a full breakdown on that just because we don't have the sample size of it at Colorado. But that was never something when I heard about the fumble issues and, sometimes maybe pass protection stuff. I never heard anything about him being a liability in terms of being a pass catcher out of the backfield.
All right, Adam. Obviously, you got a head coach. A few people know who he is in Coach Prime, or I guess you just call him Coach Prime, not Coach Sanders, Coach Deion. What's it like now covering Deion Sanders on a daily basis? Is it as much fun or as compelling as we think, or is it not what the outside world would believe?
Well, I would say that he runs a more traditional program than most people think because they get the sound bites from press conferences. As a beat member, I have less contact with the head coach than I have had in 23 years covering Colorado. But every time we get a chance to be around Deion Sanders, like he's got kind of this on-camera persona, and he's also got kind of a different persona off camera. And I've been impressed with him as a human being. There's a lot of drama that comes along with his coverage, especially with the Shedeur draft slide and everything we've dealt with as far as that goes. But I would say it's actually less dramatic on a day-to-day basis than a lot of people think. I've been impressed with his ability to connect with people, and he's dealing with a health issue right now. And you hear people in the building that know how to run this operation without him, but he definitely is a different type of head coach at the FBS level, but not to the point where he's really old school, I guess is what I'm getting down to. He is going to demand a lot of these guys, and you've seen guys get kicked out of the program that just were not doing the right thing. So there's more disciplinary stuff going on in the program than I think sometimes what gets shown on social media.
This just hit me. We only got like 30 seconds, but there for a while we saw a lot of famous folks going on that campus watching games. Who did you see that was like a famous person? You went, well, what the hell are they doing here? To what level of celebrity have you seen running around for Colorado games in the Dion era?
Well, I got to give The Rock a fist bump. That was pretty cool. I'm not gonna lie.
That's hard to beat.
Has your hand hurt? Did he break your hand?
No, he was pretty chill with it. I think I was not. I was more enthused to see him than he was to see me. Let's say that.
You mean he didn't go back to his people? I just saw Adam Munster Tiger. You would not believe that.
I'm sure he did.
Adam Munster Tiger from 24/7 Sports covers the Colorado Buffaloes. Thanks a lot for giving us a little insight on the new running back here at South Carolina. Appreciate you, man.
Of course, guys. Thank you.
All right, thanks. All right, and real quick, Dave, in a couple seconds, where's this traffic situation? Hop in.
I-77 north at Blythewood Road.
All right, great. Halftime show. We talk a lot of football in the 1 o'clock hour, sponsored by Atlantic Windows and Doors. We'll just kind of maybe come back and riff a little bit what we got from Adam Munster Tiger about Isaiah Augustov. Now we know how to say his name. That's next here on the Halftime Show on The Game. Lots of football in the 1 o'clock hour, sponsored by Atlantic Windows and Doors on the game. Halftime show. David Ayer, Tyler Head, Terry Ford here till 3 on the game. All right. Shamir Stewart, and I probably should have Dave grab the sound of this, and that was on me. Shamir Stewart, Cincinnati Bengals, defensive end, rookie, picked in the first round from Texas A&M.
Shamar.
I said
Stewart.
Shamir.
Yeah.
So Stewart, in front of microphones, I believe it was yesterday, was talking about his contract dispute with the Bengals. Now, it's not about money because all these rookies are slotted.
Of course.
So they make pretty much what they make. But the negotiation is about language in the contract. And whatever the Bengals are trying to lay out as language, Stewart's agent and Stewart aren't down with.
Yeah.
Now, teams do this. We've seen the Chargers every year. It seemed like before the new regime with Jim Harbaugh, every year the Chargers were fighting over language. The Bengals say it's the same language that's been in the last 3 or 4 rookie contracts for first-round picks. So could it be the Bengals being the Bengals who are cheap and always looking for an angle, or is it Stewart and his people either A, not understanding the road that these contracts go down, or B, does Stewart's people truly think this language is not acceptable to his client? Whatever it is.
Yeah.
Stewart got in front of microphones yesterday saying, basically taking a dump all over the Bengals, saying, this isn't about wins and losses. This is about just somebody wanting to win an argument and things of that nature. Well, that could be a two-way street to your rep, too, to be honest.
Sure.
But it's easy to pile on the Bengals because, well, they are the Bengals, right?
Yeah.
But Stewart, and let's just say Stewart's right. Who cares? You've played as many games as David Ayer in the NFL.
You don't have your clout built up.
You got zero clout. You should. I mean, if you were going to be doing, they called it a hold in these days. He was kind of doing a hold in. So if you're doing a hold in and the microphone, the people with the microphones and the TV cameras come up to you, it's very simple. Ready? And my agent and the team are working through this, and I'm confident that I'm going to be ready to roll as soon as possible. Next question.
Yeah. I'm focused on me, focused on getting myself ready, and it's all going to work out. Yeah. When you haven't played a snap in the NFL yet, I wouldn't go after the organization.
No, I mean, look, again, the Bengals are low-hanging fruit, man.
Sure.
But to be fair, they've been to a Super Bowl recently, and, they've had success. But, I mean, last year they kind of underachieved because their defense couldn't stop a nosebleed.
Like you said, this could be more on his team's side, not understanding the language necessarily.
Yeah, because this thing, look, teams now obviously are looking for every advantage possible.
Of course. And
now that you have rookie deals and these contracts are all slotted, now you're looking for the advantage in the contract language. And, and I've looked it up and maybe there's something I missed, but I didn't see an article that went into detail on what exactly the language situation is that Stewart's folks and the Bengals just can't, come to an agreement on.
Sure.
But no matter what all that is, doesn't matter. It's just you don't say anything, bro.
Yeah, ideally.
You just shut your face and say, I'm here, I'm happy, we're going to get this done, I can't wait to play, and get on the field and, knock the heck out of people. It's very simple. And Stewart, and again, he's a guy, if I remember correctly, was drafted on his physical gifts and high ceiling, not on his sack numbers at A&M.
Yeah, when we have played A&M the past couple of years, and obviously he was part of the scouting report and preview, he didn't quite pop off as they were expecting out in A&M.
He had hurries. He had really good hurry numbers.
Yeah, he could get there.
But sack numbers, he didn't finish. He wasn't finishing the plays.
Again, physically, the upside, the ceiling, like you said, really high, which is why the Bengals, took him there. But maybe not off to the best start in Cincy.
Time to shh. Now Trey Hendrickson's got a different deal because he's holding out. He's been one of the best sack artists in the NFL the last few years. But, again, he's getting a little bit over the 30 age range. And so Hendrickson wants a certain amount of money. The Bengals want to give a certain amount of money. The Bengals, I believe I read yesterday, they do have the ability to have the cap space to make this signing. Here's my thought on the whole thing. I get if you want to look at a certain number on what you want to pay in guaranteed money to a guy who is probably going out of the prime of his career at some point soon.
Sure.
But here's the thing. He's one of the best sackers in the NFL. Last time I checked, the best way to stop an NFL offense is how?
Sack the quarterback.
Yes. You know how many other guys you have at a high level right now that sack quarterbacks besides Hendrickson? I just gave you the list.
Yeah.
So if I'm the Bengals, and I'm not, if I want to get creative here to get this guy who's guaranteed dough to make him happy but also not kill myself in a cap situation, there are creative ways to do this. Kansas City does it all the time. The Bengals don't seem to be that creative.
Yeah.
But there's ways to do this. And really, look, I know you threw all the money on your offense. I get it. You paid everybody. But at some point, you know who goes on the field? The defense. And the reason you didn't make the playoffs last year because your defense couldn't stop anybody. I'm finding a way to make this happen with Hendrickson because I have a lot of offensive weaponry in the prime of their careers. I don't want to waste it because my defense stinks.
Yeah. Again, Burrow's numbers last year were ridiculous. And for him to miss the playoffs and that team to miss the playoffs, again, goes on the defense and not being able to stop anyone. So, yeah, you don't want to run that situation again because, again, you play in a tough division, obviously. And the AFC North prides itself on defense, always has. And if you don't have the horses to compete in that area, you're going to struggle.
Now, you added Stewart, obviously Demetrius Knight in the second round. Barrett Carter, the linebacker from Clemson, was a fourth-round pick. So you did add some young defensive players who, if they can pop for you, they're on rookie deals.
Yeah.
But, I mean, look, to me, you got to find a way to bring Hendrickson into the fold. You just do. I mean, they let him look for a trade. They've done all this stuff. And I think, look, there's a fair market value out there. You're not going to pay Micah Parsons money, obviously, because Hendrickson's a lot older than Micah Parsons. He's not as good. But he's still really, really good.
Sure.
So, again, this is just the Bengals being the Bengals in some ways when it comes to Hendrickson. Just get creative and get it done. Patrick Mahomes' contract, Kansas City had stuff in workout bonuses and all this other stuff to kind of ease the cap hit. If you're the Bengals, you can get creative as long as... Look, Trey Henderson doesn't care what bucket you put the money in as long as his direct deposit hits, right?
Yeah.
Nobody cares. But if you're the Bengals, get creative and find a way to get it done to get Hendrickson in. But as for Stewart, how about this? Zip it. Zip, 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 zip it. In the words of Dr. Evil.
Until you've become successful enough where it's warranted for you to maybe butt heads with your organization a little bit.
Yeah, once you have some skins in the game, you can start talking.
Yes.
Yes, you can. All right, so lots of football in the 1 o'clock hour, like always, sponsored by Atlantic Windows and Doors. We'll come back at our Firehouse sub. Text the hour, 803-404-6100. Do not forget today, 3 to 6 at Angry Fish. Elijah Campbell hanging out, doing his part of the post-game show at Angry Fish. Jay Phillips will be back here in studio. Why? Well, we got a couple special guests today. I believe at 3:30, Chance Miller, the former associate AD here at Carolina, who is now the athletic director at Coastal. Coastal is in the College Baseball World Series. So Chance will be on with Jay and Elijah. And then the main event. Now, Chance Miller's opening. He's the opening act.
He's the opening act.
The headliner, Jeremiah Donati, athletic director of South Carolina, from 4 to 4:30 with Jay and Elijah. Jay will be here in studio. Ed Bird will be here producing. And Elijah Campbell will be at Angry Fish. Stop in and say hi to Elijah at Angry Fish. Angry Fish is a cool place, man.
It is.
Very cool place. And by the way, what they don't drink, they sell.
Great motto.
Yep. So that's today here on The Game. Again, we'll come back, get our Firehouse sub. Text the hour on the halftime shows. We talk football in the 1 o'clock hour, sponsored by Atlantic Windows and Doors, right here on The Game. By the way, you can go to the 107.5 The Game Facebook page today through Saturday, June 14th at 7 p.m. Look at the baby photos and, in one case, young person with hair photos and comment your guess on each photo. First prize, most correct guesses, wins a 107.5 The Game craft beer card. And a family pack of tickets to go to the Columbia Fireflies game.
There are several people that are knocking this out of the park so far.
Oh, really?
They're doing a really good job.
Sweet. One is easy. No, really, a couple are easy. A couple are pretty easy.
I had trouble with a few of them.
I tell you what, young Wes Mitchell is something else. I will just say that.
Okay.
I'm not going to tell you which one it is, but young Wes Mitchell is a styling dude. He's
young Terry Ford is, well, he's young Terry Ford.
It's so funny. Because I had a picture of me when I was really, really little Terry Ford. But Jeannie was like, nah, what else you got? I have another picture sitting in my office next to that picture.
Yeah.
Jeannie goes, that's the one I want. I said, what about a kid? Anyway, all right. Firehouse Subtext, the hour, 803-404-6100. What do you got?
This is in reference to Rasul Faison. Name Secretary says, bottom line, if it were Ohio State or Alabama, would have been settled by now. We have a history of being drug out by the NCAA before a decline.
Interesting.
Or maybe deadline. Then maybe that's what he meant.
I mean, look, I'm not going to argue that. I'm not going to sit here and go, no, they treat everybody the same, because we know they don't. But
yeah.
In this situation, because again, we don't know enough about what goes on with this.
Yeah.
I'm not going to say the texture's wrong, because again, there's nothing level and fair about the world of college football. The haves get more than the have-nots, or the haves get more than the good. The blue bloods, even if you're a good program, a blue blood program will get over on you if you're just a good program.
Sure.
So, I mean, I'm not going to say, oh, no way that could happen. But I just think the NCAA is clunky in general, right?
It is. And again, they've got their own laundry list of problems going on right now that may be taking up more of their, time and focus. I do think media coverage goes a long way. And again, we're talking about it here because it's local to South Carolina, but outside of this bubble, it's not something that's garnering a ton of headlines. Like, people outside of here, like, oh, yeah, I heard that Carolina running back's not eligible right now. But, if this were Ashton Genty last year and he's trying to get eligible or, something like that, and, it's being talked about on every national platform, then I think the NCAA may work a little bit swiftly. I think the, what's his name? Walker from a couple years ago at North Carolina.
The wide receiver,
yeah. That didn't end up getting eligible until the middle of the season. I think the increased media around that ended up leading to them making their decision.
Well, remember, at first he was ineligible.
And then they're like, oh, hey, North Carolina gave us this extra paperwork. No, we didn't. You had the paperwork the entire time. Yeah. Oh, I guess we found it or something.
That's my point. The dog ate it. Swear to God. I think that's my point. And I agree with you. If this was a high profile thing, it would be done. But I just think they're incompetent just in general.
Yes.
And I think that's a big part of this. Is they can't get out of their own way. But yeah, if this was a high profile All-America type player with a national conversation constantly, it probably would be done by now because of that. Because again, they'll look bad if they don't get it done.
Would you trust the NCAA to organize a kid's birthday party?
No, I wouldn't trust them to organize my refrigerator.
It's like, all right, invite the guest, get a cake, and put up the decorations. That's all you have to do.
They'd screw it up.
And
they'd spell the kid's name wrong on the cake.
Wrong age. They gave the wrong address to the party.
It's funny that you get all these quote-unquote smart people together, these highly educated human beings, and sometimes you're so highly educated that common sense and logic, for some reason, doesn't work in your head.
Yeah, there's that whole, smart on paper but dumb in real life kind of thing.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So, Texter, to your point, we're not saying you're wrong because there isn't any fairness in college football. And, yeah, if it was a blue blood and they put pressure to get something done, they probably get it done faster than just a good program could.
Yep,
But I also think the NCAA is just a bunch of incompetent boobs.
that too.
I think so. Maybe we can add them both together. Maybe that's why things happen like this. All right, appreciate the text like always. 803-404-6100. All right, what's trending at 2 coming up next? Sponsored by Traditions Fine Jewelry and Gamecock Traditions. Zakai Ziegler, we talk about Faison. Zakai Ziegler gave it a shot, man, to get another year at Tennessee. The Vols point guard on the men's squad. He tried. We'll tell you if he was successful or not. Also, Vince Morrow has spoke from Kentucky. Mark Stoops' right-hand man went to the enemy, and he gave a statement about that as well, and we'll give our thoughts why we think that happened. All that's coming up on What's Trending at 2 here on the Halftime Show with David Dare and Terry Ford and Tyler Head on the game. right, so what's trending? A couple things here in the Midlands. First of all, Isaiah Gustav, transfer running back from Colorado, is now a Gamecock. Good get. Adam Munster Tiger from 24/7 Sports. I say that like I knew it all the time. Who covers the Buffs, hopped on with us at 1:15, told us this is a guy who can break some tackles. We saw that in the stats. Also, Adam said that Augusta was really underused at Colorado.
Yeah.
And a lot of the folks who covered the team were wondering why didn't he get more run, because he looked like he was the best running back in the room.
Sure.
So it's good to hear. Now we'll see where it translates or how it translates for Isaiah's time at South Carolina. But it feels like you got a guy with some ability that can help you out, whether it's just as depth or if Faison does not become eligible, maybe this is a guy that can, go into a rotation with Attaway and Howell and Fuller and give you a productive running game.
You feel a lot better about having 4 scholarship running backs that you feel like you can utilize. And again, this isn't any disrespect to Bradley Dunn. Obviously earned himself a scholarship, but he was a walk-on. And he's somebody that, even if Rasul Faison did not get deemed eligible, probably was not going to see a lot of action this year. Right. So having a 4th option in the backfield as opposed to only having 3 guys to rotate through, and just from a health standpoint, because if you have 3 primary running backs and one goes down, then you're digging into your walk-ons at that point, which you don't want to do.
Right. And, again, Augusta, 75% of his yards after contact, not a breakaway threat if you look at the numbers, but a guy that averaged 4.5 yards a carry behind a terrible offensive line last year because basically he broke tackles.
Yes.
A lot of his damage is between the tackles, really from guard to guard is where a lot of it, or guard tackle, the hole between guard and tackle is where most of Augusta's damage was done as a running back. But so we got a nice little peek into what Isaiah Gustav is as a running back from Adam Munster Tiger from 24/7 Sports in Boulder. All right, also, the kick times popped in college football, and South Carolina, Clemson is a noon kick on November 29th. Right now we know of 2 night games at Willie B. September 6th against South Carolina State, September 13th against Vandy. Those will definitely be night games. Then South Carolina is in the flex window 5 different times. And 4 of those are the either 3:30 to 4:30 window or the 6 to 8 p.m. window, except for Oklahoma. Mm-hmm. That will be an early window game played at Willie B. Between noon and 1 will be the kick.
Yep.
So that's where it's at right now. Now, all the road games, one could be LSU at night. Ooh. In Columbia, Missouri, that's a flex game, either afternoon or night window. At Ole Miss, flex game, afternoon, night window. At A&M, early window, noon to 1.
Mm-hmm.
Coastal is as an afternoon window, 3:30 to 4:30. So that's kind of where this thing. And obviously, the Virginia Tech game is a 3 o'clock kick on ESPN, August 31st. That's where you're at. So, yeah, hopefully you'll get maybe another extra night game or 2, because again,
if you're playing good,
home games at night, pretty cool around here.
Yes.
So, and noon kickoffs, you're gonna definitely get one with Clemson. And you're going to get a noonish kickoff with Oklahoma in that early window as well. And you have an early window kick with A&M. So you know there's 3 games. You got to wake up really early for your tailgate.
By the way, do you want to take a wild guess at which SEC teams have the most noon kickoffs next year?
I'm going Vanderbilt.
Actually, no.
Mississippi State.
No. 2 schools are tied for the most noon kicks and early kicks within that 12 to 1 window.
Who?
Oklahoma and Ole Miss. So
That's
Oklahoma has, and these aren't all SEC teams, but Temple, South Carolina, Ole Miss, and Missouri. Ole Miss has Mississippi State, the Citadel, Oklahoma, and Washington State.
The Egg Bowl, early window. Mississippi State, you said, right?
Yes, because that is on Black Friday.
Typically Black Friday.
Yes. So that'll because you got...
Because that was on at night a ton, but now the world is different.
They used to be on Thanksgiving night, going head-to-head with whatever NFL game was on, and that was when things always got really weird. You know, you had the dog pee thing, and all kinds of.
I'll never forget.
Brother, the ripple effect of that,
I know.
and of all college football, because that's what ended up leading to Leach getting hired at Mississippi State because they lost that game.
They lost that game.
You know, they drug Moorhead out in the pine box or whatever.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, going back and reliving that is crazy on the
A
effect
lot
it
of
had on
weird
college
things
football.
came out of that.
It did.
Yeah, it did. So,
But yeah, I think that's a nooner on Black Friday.
Friday.
Georgia Tech at 3:30. Then I believe Texas and Texas A&M that night at 7 or 7:30.
all right, so that's kind of the schedule breakdown in what's going to be happening with South Carolina on kick times. What's trending at 2, sponsored by Traditions Fine Jewelry and Gamecock Traditions. Speaking of South Carolina Clemson, let's hit some sound here, David Ayer. Greg McElroy, doing his podcast, was talking about the best non-conference rivalry games for this upcoming season. Obviously, Clemson, South Carolina is on the list. Here's what McElroy said about the Palmetto Bowl.
Clemson at South Carolina. This will be the final week of the regular season. And my look at both these teams. South Carolina, I'm not sure they're going to be as good as they were last year on defense, but I think offensively they have a chance to take a significant step forward. And for those of you that have listened to this show the last couple months, you probably know that I think Clemson has a legit chance to start the season in the top 5, and I would not be surprised at all if at season's end they're number 1, number 2, number 3 in college football. I think they're that good, a legitimate national championship contender, having to go on the road in the final game of the regular season against their SEC foe in state. That's always one of my favorite rivalries, and it will be an awesome one to consume again here in 25.
And we discussed this earlier in this show. This game could mean the most it's meant in a long time, or if ever.
Yep.
If these two teams are as good as everybody thinks they can be.
Yeah. Again, last year's matchup was two teams in the top 15 that at the time were kind of playing for their playoff lives, and Clemson obviously found another way in by winning the SEC championship game. But we know if South Carolina lost that game, their hopes of making the playoffs were gone. Obviously, they still didn't make it in, but you felt pretty good coming away from that. They still had a really good chance. And, you know, if Clemson, Clemson would have to really fall flat on their face to not be in the top 10 when that matchup rolls around this year. Given the talent they have returning, the skill that they have at tons of positions, including quarterback with Kate Klubnik, they should be a top 10 team regardless, and probably already locked into the ACC championship game the next week. South Carolina becomes the question here of, okay, you lost a lot, you're retooling, how good can you be over the course of another tough slate in the SEC? And look, nobody goes through the SEC unscathed. I don't think there's anybody that's going to get to the end of the regular season and be undefeated, right? So Can you be 9-2 or 8-3 or somewhere along those lines and still be in that mix of, you know, somewhere between 10th and 15th? That's kind of the question here.
Yeah, so this game could be very interesting on November 29th. I was Trending at 2, sponsored by Traditions Fine Jewelry and Gamecock Traditions. Look, and going back to this game really quick, you know, with Clemson, a lot is being put on bringing in Tom Allen's defensive coordinator to fix the defense, which last year was not what typically we've seen defensively in the upstate. And that offense looks like, you know, you have wide receivers now. A bunch of young guys stepped up last year. Klubnik, far and away his best season at quarterback. Yeah, you have to replace Moffett running back, obviously, but they've got some dudes they like in the running back room and the offensive line they feel like is solid. So this should be a really good football team. And if you look at the ACC, you know, you feel like Clemson and Miami are the two big dogs. You think Florida State's got to bounce back from that dumpster fire.
Sure.
SMU still has talent. Syracuse is interesting under Fran Brown. What do you do with a new quarterback in year 2? We'll see. But Clemson should be the best team in the ACC, or at least fighting Miami for the best team in the ACC.
Yeah, for sure.
And maybe the ACC gets 2 teams in the playoffs. I don't know.
And they don't play each other in the regular season.
Right.
So, you know, can you avoid whatever Florida State's going to be?
Mm-hmm.
SMU, they got to go to Louisville on a Friday night. Like, they got some challenges in there for sure. But if they're as good as we think they are, then they shouldn't have too much problem.
They should find a way, yep. All right, when we talk about this new world of college athletics, right?
Yep.
And we talk about the transfer portal and NIL and athletes getting paid and all these things that are going on that just makes the old school college football fan throw up. Not in his mouth, but throw up at his tailgate.
Sure.
You know, our thing is, look, a lot of these things were illegal for a long time. And we also say this too. This is not being mean. the powers that be that matter, which is TV, and really the sport itself, go, the old school fans, we got them, right?
Yes.
They're in no matter what. They might whine and moan about everything, but at the end of the day, while they're whining and moaning, they're reaching for their remote to turn the game on.
Yep.
We've got them. Who we're trying to get is that casual fan that might stop to watch the game or whatever, but you got to find, he's got to have a reason, he or she.
Mm-hmm.
If it's a 6-3 game and everybody's punting, nobody cares. They move on and go watch Hulu. But you're trying to cultivate new fans and the casual fan. And all these things are going on now. Let's just be honest. A lot of this stuff keeps college football in the news and keeps college football relevant.
It does.
And, college football likes that. And some people say, yeah, but you want to run off that old school fan. Paul Feinbaum was on Jocks. And here's his thoughts on college football and their level of concern about losing that older generation of fan. It's cut to, Dave. Hit it.
I think that generation is a concern, but because they did not grow up where college football, they were as dependent on college football as their parents, grandparents, et cetera. I still don't think there's anything in sports that can replace a Saturday night at Bryant-Denny Stadium or Tiger Stadium or Jordan-Hare Stadium. Because I've covered the game a long time, and it keeps getting better because I think the athletes are better, the game is faster, it's more unique, the coverage of it is exponentially better. But there could be a turnoff, but I've heard this before. I remember it was about 30 years ago, a little bit more than 30 years ago, in August, baseball went on strike. It's shut down. And people say, I will never go back to a baseball game. People are still going to baseball games. People went back to football games in the late 80s when the NFL struck for a couple of weeks. So I've never bought into that. Older people in my generation are being turned off. And I don't want to insult many of my friends, but that's not where the action is. You guys know that. I mean, there's so many stories. And Greg, you may have been living in Dallas at the time, but Jerry Jones got a lot of complaints when he went to AT&T Stadium. Actually, you were at Alabama at the time. But the point being, everybody said, I'm not buying season tickets anymore. You know what? He didn't care because they weren't spending enough money anyway. And that's really where it goes. Is your children, are they going at some point going to be benefactors of Alabama and Auburn like you are and like Greg Byrne and John Cohn need? So that's the challenge. It's always the next generation. The people that are grumpy and say it wasn't like this when I played football in the 70s, we care about what they say on a talk show, but the athletic directors don't really care anymore.
Well, the point is you're trying to cultivate the next wave of your fan base. You're trying to lay the foundation. That foundation is, as young as you can get them, matter of fact.
Well, would you rather cater to the people that are going to be watching your sport for the next 60 years, the people that are going to watch it for the next, 10 to 15?
Right, and that's just the reality. Look, people over the age of 50 have disposable income. It's one of the most underrated demographics of disposable income because they're empty nesters now.
Yes.
But you value that to a point, but the bigger point is we want to get the people who are going to be spending money for 30 years, not like you said, 15 or 20. It's just the idea you want to get that next wave. Why do you think, even though Major League Baseball and the NBA have roughly the same TV ratings, why do you think the TV networks chase the NBA and not Major League Baseball fans?
Because it's a younger demographic
A younger
that watches
demo.
it. Well, the average baseball viewer is 55 or something?
Yeah, 55, 57. The
Yeah.
NBA viewer is in their 30s
30,
or something.
which again, that 18 to 35, that is the prime window of viewership.
That's the wheelhouse. That is the wheelhouse. All right, what's trending at 2, sponsored by Traditions Fine Jewelry and Gamecock Traditions. U.S. Open is rolling. Rory McIlroy, since he won the Masters, has been a scuffling. We talked about this after he won the Masters. We'll hear about Rory McIlroy from Rory McIlroy next on the Halftime Show in the Game. right, what's trending is the U.S. Open at Oakmont. By average round score, the toughest golf course ever regarding the majors.
That's why you play a major there.
Oakmont is ridiculous. Rory McIlroy, 4 over right now, sitting in a tie for 76th. And McIlroy he's in. He's finished up his first round. The leader right now, J.J. Spawn of the U.S. at 4 under. Thurston Lawrence of South Africa, 3 under. Siwoo Kim at 2 under, leading a bunch of guys at 2 under like Brooks Koepka, Sam Burns, Ben Griffin from the U.S. Colin Morikawa is 1 under. So anyway, that's where it's at the U.S. Open. And I believe Spawn has finished his round, so he's in the clubhouse leading by stroke. McIlroy struggling and scuffling at 4 over. Since McIlroy won the Masters, he's had a lot of scuffling and struggling. But everybody said, well, that's okay because now he's back at a major. We'll see Rory get the focus back. And so far today, it's been a rough go. We'll see where it goes the next 3 rounds. We had this. I brought this up to you after he won the Masters. Because that was like his holy grail, right? Yeah. To get to
white whale.
Get to the green jacket. And I said, sometimes when you get that and you reach that pinnacle you've been chasing, right? You've been chasing and chasing and chasing and chasing, and you finally get it. Some guys go, okay, I'm good. Now, they might not do it out loud, but where it matters, above the neck in the noggin area, you take a breath and relax.
You spent your entire time striving and trying and trying and trying to accomplish this goal. Now you've done it. It's like, well, now what?
Because a lot of guys, there are people who, in life, forget sports, they naturally can find ways to motivate themselves every day.
Of course.
However it is, whether it's, somebody's disrespecting me, there's a slight, I got something to prove, or they're just people who like to set goals and go after goals, right? I mean, there are people who do that all the time.
Yeah.
But then there are people who set a goal. Then they get it, and they go like this. Now what do I do?
Yeah. And it seemed like chasing that career Grand Slam was the primary goal. And now, again, every golfer's like, I want to be the best ever. I don't know if you saying I want to go out there and beat Tiger Woods' accomplishments. He got the Grand Slam. And, again, since then, hasn't been his best performances.
And look, maybe it's as simple as this. He's going to have a period of time where he's got to figure out what's going to be the motivating factor, thing, whatever, to get him back to getting that level of intensity and focus that he needs to go out there and be who he's been before. Or maybe, look, Rory hadn't won a major in a long time before he popped that green jacket.
Yep.
So who knows? Maybe could it be the last major Rory McIlroy ever wins? Sure. But you know what? If you got the career Grand Slam, you're doing all right.
Yep.
Or maybe after a period of time, he gets out of the funk and starts to win more majors. Who knows? But it's not like this is the first time it's happened to a guy where you reach the mountaintop, and now you're like, I don't want to climb any more mountains. I'm good.
Yep.
So we'll see. But here's Rory McIlroy, cut 3, Dave, talking about trying to find motivation again.
Yeah, I think it's, trying to have a little bit of amnesia and forget about what happened 6 weeks ago. Yeah, and then just trying to find the motivation to go back out there and work as hard as I've been working. I worked incredibly hard on my game from October last year all the way up until April this year, and it was nice to sort of see the fruits of my labor come to fruition and have everything happen. But at the same time, you have to enjoy that. You have to enjoy what you've just accomplished. And, I certainly, I feel like I'm still doing that, and I will continue to do that. But, at some point, you have to realize that there's a little bit more golf left to play this season. Here, Portrush, Ryder Cup. So those are obviously the 3 big things, that I'm sort of looking at for the end, for the rest of the year.
So again, even Rory McIlroy saying, yeah, man, I'm trying to find the motivation again to get my mojo back. And right now, 4 over at the U.S. Open after the first round. All right, so, and what's trending at 2, sponsored by Traditions Fine Jewelry and Gamecock Traditions here on the game. All right, so the thing the NCAA wants the most is Congress to bail out their problems, right?
Yes.
Give them some level, whether it's a bill that goes into a law, whatever they're looking for, antitrust exemptions.
Yep.
They want something for Congress to help them fix college athletics, right?
They've been chasing this for a while.
Yeah, talk about a white whale. So,
Yes.
Athletic posted up an article. Here's the headline. In new bills, Congress' most direct plan yet to empower NCAA on post-house rules takes shape. All right. A new push within Congress is happening to attempt to turn it into a law, some of the stuff in the House settlement, and give the NCAA and conferences more power to enforce their rules. A discussion draft on a bill obtained by the Athletic outlines an upcoming proposal in the House of Representatives Committee on Energy and Commerce that would codify most of the federal support the NCAA has been lobbying for in recent years. Although previous congressional efforts haven't gained much steam, college sports leaders hope the settlement will finally provide the spark for something to get done. The Republican-led committee would work hand-in-hand with 2 other House committees for a 3-prong approach this week. And it would do if this works, here's what it would do. Fully deputize the College Sports Commission or another entity to enforce the settlement rules, such as requiring athletes to disclose third-party NIL deals worth more than $600 and allow the prohibition of compensation that is not considered fair market value. So basically, what we say is going to go to court and lose, this bill would make it a law to where it supersedes anything else that you're trying to do in court. Now, people could try to go to court and still fight.
Sure.
But now it's got more teeth, correct?
Yeah.
Allow an entity to establish a revenue-sharing cap, one instituted by the settlement that begins at like $20 million for the 2025 academic year. Now, again, now you're setting a cap. That would have to be collectively bargained, but you're trying to make it a law.
Mm-hmm.
Allow also preempt state NIL laws with a national NIL law. That I agree with 100%. If you want to make something make sense, have a national law, a federal law, supersede all these little state laws they're trying to get over on each other in NIL, right?
Yep.
Allow the NCAA conferences or another entity to establish and enforce rules around transfers, eligibility length, and the paying of recruits. Now you're losing me. Now you're trying to go back to the old days. To me, that's a part of this. That's a pushback.
Sure.
Declare the college athletes are not employees. That's fine. Require, and this one I agree with 100%, require athletes' agents to register with an entity such as CSC or the NCAA. That gets your Uncle Edgar's next-door neighbor's brother out of the equation.
It does.
Or daddy.
All sounds great in theory. Can it get through is the question. Because, again, there's been a lot of ideas that have come up. Hey, they can do this, they can do that. But, like, seeing it actually happen is the hurdle we're trying to get over here.
Yep. And look, here's the other part of this. Republicans are more apt to go for this. Democrats are more on the side of players. That's the other thing here, because you're looking at politics. We forget this when we're talking about Congress.
Yeah.
There's 2 parties, and one looks at things a lot different than the other.
Right.
So you're going to have to put things in this that are going to make each side happy enough to move forward with it.
Sure.
And it's got to be the right timing because, again, in the world we live in, on a list of what's important in the real world, this is probably, about a millionth?
Again, if you're running on the platform of NIL and all this kind of stuff, I'm not voting for you because they're more pressing matters.
Exactly. I've got a lot more things more important in my life than you wanting to fix NIL. But so that's all that goes into this. But this is the start of something, and there's 2 other things percolating in some other committees as well. So they're trying. There are some people in Congress who are going to give us a whirl. I'll say it like I always do. I'll believe it when I see it.
Right.
But that's an Athletic post about what's going on in Congress, about the whole post-House rules. Greatest day in the history of the world is June 12th. We'll get to that next here on the Halftime Show. David Ayer, Tyler Head, Terry Ford, till 3 on the game. All right, June 12th, greatest day in the history of the world. You know why it's the greatest day in the history of the world, Dave? Know why? Start with this. I'll read it to you. Tyler Head's birthday.
Oh, we should have a party.
I think we should. I think we should cake, food, beverages,
Dancing girls.
dancing girls. You know, Dave brought up dancing girls.
Can I trust you guys to plan a party? We talked about the NCAA
NCAA.
planning a birthday party. Can I trust you guys to plan one?
Yeah, we'll plan the party around stuff that we like.
I don't know at all thing Dave's likes.
I'll give you a gift like I said. Joke with my girlfriend. You know, I'll give her a birthday gift, and it's wow. She opens up. She goes, "Wow, high top Nike basketball shoes, size 11. Well, they're too big for me. Well, I'll wear them.
Oh.
I'll wear them for you.
Perfect.
I'll take care of that." Now, Tyler Head's birthday. What are the plans for Tyler Head's birthday tonight?
I think we're just gonna go to dinner. May go hang out at a brewery or something tomorrow, and then we're supposed to go somewhere on Saturday that I don't know anything about.
Ooh, surprise!
She's like, "Hey, we're gonna go somewhere on Saturday." I'm like, "All right."
Nice.
I'm terrible at guessing, so I'll find out then.
Hey, what's your choice for dinner tonight?
Probably Japanese. Haven't had that in a while.
Nice.
Good go-to. There's a couple good places over in Lexington.
So nothing with a drive-through?
Nothing with a drive-through.
Nothing with a drive-through?
If I had if it was totally up to me, maybe.
We were kidding.
Yeah.
My youngest, obviously, he graduated last week.
Right.
And he had to pick where he wanted to have his post-graduation meal.
Yeah.
And we were kidding. It's like Chipotle. That's where he spends most of his time.
What's wrong with that?
He's like,
It's good.
You want Chipotle? And that was our joke. We did a little Japanese steakhouse.
Yeah.
That was fun.
Yeah.
Those
Never
things
go
are
wrong
fun.
with that.
The guy doing the cooking, the
Yeah,
hibachi master
hibachi.
or whatever you want to
Yeah.
call him, he thought he was funny. Like he's making the rice. He's going, rice, baby. Rice, baby. He had his shtick.
Did you do the onion volcano?
He did not.
That's like
That's 101,
that's
right?
day one
That's-
of hibachi chef school.
He was funny though. He flipped because it was a place called Saki.
Yeah,
And they were having their grand opening, so it was half price on the sushi, which
Okay.
I can't stand sushi. But anyway,
Yeah, I'm not a
my
sushi
daughter
guy
likes it. So it's half price sushi. So everything we're doing, we're joking like so he flips a vegetable for my youngest kid to catch in his mouth.
Yeah.
They do that too.
Yeah.
My kid caught it and looked up and go, "Hey man, does that make the meal half price? Let's go. Come on. And then he asked, he goes, is anybody allergic to anything? Because he's getting ready to cook. And I said,
Yeah.
yeah, I am. He's like, what? I go, I'm allergic to cats.
Yeah.
I go, you're not cooking cats, are you? He didn't find humor in that for some reason.
Also, you have to be strategic where you sit at hibachi,
Mm-hmm.
depending on how he starts to deal the food.
Uh-huh.
Because again, there's no he's not measuring the stuff.
No,
Takes
he
a
just
scoop,
throws it
one
on,
plate, and a
man.
scoop. If you're on the very far end and you're getting the very end,
Yeah.
you're getting like half a thing of rice. Maybe
You
you're
got to be
getting-
first.
Yeah, you're getting like maybe some of the burner ends of the steak or whatever.
Oh,
Like
yeah.
you got scout it. See what
have to
hand
scout.
he's working with, because that dominant hand, that's what way's going to go first.
I'm with you 100% on that.
Pro tip.
Because I was like second in line, I think. No, I was first because the other two people sitting next to me,
Yep. So he's feeling generous.
they were going, they went with, they didn't do the hibachi.
Okay.
They went off hibachi. So I was first in line.
Yeah.
I got loaded up, man.
Your plate's piled up to
Oh,
here.
I had like leftovers for 3 days. So yeah, Japanese, good idea, man.
Yeah.
That was honestly was fun,
Yeah.
and the food was really good.
I think we went last year for
That's
my
cool.
birthday, so why not?
that was cool. Good deal. Or go to Chipotle.
I had a girl that dumped me on my birthday.
Hey. Why does that not surprise me, Dave?
All my friends set up this big party.
did she know it was your birthday?
Yeah, she knew. There's this big thing set up, bunch of people set it up for me.
Why couldn't she have waited one more day? What was the reason?
Why not wait one more day?
God.
She couldn't have at least been nice to you on your birthday and then broke up with you the next day?
Really?
That's
Seriously.
terrible, Dave. That is awful.
I'm not laughing at you, Dave. I'm laughing with you. And why am I not surprised by this?
I'm not either.
Why am I not surprised that David Dare,
No.
with his great history with women,
Dave
got dumped on his birthday?
How did she do it?
Yeah,
how did
what
she do
happened,
this?
Say, listen, in front of everybody, right?
Oh, so she didn't do this on the down low.
Oh, it was at the
No,
party.
in front of everybody.
Oh my God.
And it was like I'm just not feeling it anymore. I'm out of here.
I'm not feeling it anymore.
No.
Well,
Boy,
came back the next
her
day.
situational awareness is terrible.
I know. Wow. What a keeper. Hey, so what did you do to cause this? Because it's got to be your fault. What'd you do to cause her to break up with you in front of everybody? What'd you do?
What'd I do?
What'd you do to deserve that? You did something, because, I mean, it's always your fault.
No, well, it's always my fault, but I didn't do anything. And there was a lot of food there laid out, and all these people were there. And I was like,
So did it just ruin the
Okay.
party? Everybody just keep eating? Everybody
yeah,
stay?
so did I. I'm like, whatever.
Okay, got some cake. Where's the beer? Where's the keg? Where's the keg and the cake? Oh, man.
Now, did she bring you a present?
No, I
No?
think that's why she broke up with me that day, right? She forgot.
She forgot
Forgot
the
a present.
present. So it's your
Well,
fault she forgot the
It's,
present.
it's either tell him I didn't bring him something or break up with him.
I'm going to go with B.
I don't want to look bad in front of all these people, so I'll break up with
Because you know what looks good? Breaking up with a guy in front of everybody on his birthday.
Oh, man. Dave, you've
Dave.
had a life, man.
Wow. Christmas, he opens up a box from his girlfriend. There's a note in there. We're over.
No, it's just a picture of a middle finger.
Or her with his best friend.
That's how we found out.
Oh, Dave. All right. Greatest day. By the way, happy birthday, bud.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Greatest day in the history of the world, June 12th. All right. A lot of U.S. Open victories like Ben Hogan and Byron Nelson back in the old days. We got we got some Belmont in here. Citation won on this day. Man of War, iconic horses in the history of horse racing. Also on this day in 1954, Jim Wilson of the Milwaukee Braves throws the first no-hitter in the history of County Stadium in Milwaukee. Wilson was a spot starter. Like, his career was nothing special. Four-run ERA, one-loss record. Because one-loss record back then mattered.
Yeah.
One-loss
'Cause you
record.
win the entire game.
Yeah, below 500, 86 and 89. But here's the interesting part. The guy became a scout, then moved into front offices, and he was the GM with the Milwaukee Brewers, traded for a guy who was a solid player named Don Money, who was good in Milwaukee for like 11 years. Also, his first draft as the Brewers GM, his first selection was a guy named Robin Yount. Went on to be a Hall of Famer. And when he was a scout, he helped the Baltimore Orioles scout and sign Jim Palmer.
Nice.
So as a pitcher, but he had an interesting life once he became an executive. So Jim Wilson threw a no-hitter on this day in 1954. Another interesting guy this day in 1979, Bobby Orr becomes the youngest player in NHL history to be selected to the Hockey Hall of Fame. Orr was 31 years old, inducted months after officially ending his NHL career. The NHL waived the usual 3-year period. That's how special Orr was before he got hurt. Bobby Orr, if you look at his career, from the 69-70 season until the 74-75 season, as a defenseman, scored over 100 points. Now, he was the guy that broke the mold as a weapon on offense as a defenseman.
Mm.
He was an MVP. He was a great player and then got hurt. For an example, he had 135 points in the 74-75 season, then got hurt. 10 games into the 75-76 season, the season was done, 10 games in. Then played 20 games for the Chicago Blackhawks, and then only played. So basically, after that season, 74-75, he played 36 games the rest of his career because of injury. But he was a great, great player. So they waived the 3-year rule for Bobby Orr. And this day in 1976, Orr goes into the Hall of Fame. Also, greatest day in the history of the world. Really quick, 1981, Larry Holmes stops Leon Spinks in the 3rd round to hold on to his heavyweight title. Leon Spinks' career, obviously, the only thing that happened in Leon Spinks' career, and he won a gold medal in the Olympics in 76, but he upset Muhammad Ali in 1978 to win the heavyweight title. Many people to this day will think that was fixed, so Ali could have the rematch to be the first heavyweight ever to win the title a second time. So, but Leon Spinks did beat Muhammad Ali in 1978 and won a gold medal in 76. And besides that, he was known for beating Ali, getting caught with like a millionth of a gram of cocaine in his glove compartment and walking around with no front teeth. Greatest day in the history of the world. June 12th. All right. Firehouse Sub, text the hour 803-404-6100. Our handoff, sponsored by Little Pigs, is next on the halftime show on the game. Friday halftime show. Time for our Firehouse Sub Text the Hour, 803-404-6100. What do you got there, Tyler Head?
Our texting app is currently down, but I did see before it went down, somebody did say that Clemson at noon sucks. So I did see that before it went down.
Clemson at noon, so it was 2 years in a row. Well, but you brought it up. 2 years in a row. Well, 2 of the last 3 years has been at noon, and South Carolina won both those games at Clemson. Here at noon,
people are a little more split on that.
Well, plus people here like a night game.
They do.
At Williams-Brice. What do you think about there, Jay Phillips? Noon kickoff against Clemson.
I mean, I don't prefer it, but I get it. And this, we looked at some of the other games. That's rivalry Saturday, and I understand from a national perspective that Disney, ESPN wants other games. I mean, I can't do anything about that. And I saw some people yesterday saying, well, what if Carolina Clemson's like the top 10? Then they'll move it, right? Like, no.
This isn't flexible. No.
The only either or is ABC or ESPN.
Well,
that game is kicking at noon.
And actually, that's, I think, kind of what they're hoping for, is that it is maybe a top 10 matchup because you're going head-to-head with Michigan and Ohio State again.
Yes. And I think that's, there's something to be said for ESPN doing that. Yeah. I think that tells you the strength of your game. Plus, let's face it, most of the games that the ESPN folks show out of the SEC are going to be Central Time kicks. And on Rivalry Saturday, you want those. Now, I think A&M in Texas is Friday, right?
Yes.
So is Georgia Tech, and so is the Egg Bowl.
So
Egg Bowl's Friday
noon,
or Thursday?
That's a noon. The Friday's a noon kick.
It's a noon kick on Friday.
Noon kick on Friday.
So, again, is it ideal? No. But, look, go play the game. Gamecock fans, go win the game again and make it 2 in a row and 3 out of 4. And, hey,
there you go.
Life is good.
That's what happens.
But I get it.
A whole day and night to celebrate.
Yeah, I get it. I do. I'm not sitting here going, oh, don't complain. I mean, but I'm just going to tell you, complaining isn't going to do anything about it, and sending a letter to the editor or whatever the equivalent of that is these days.
Exactly.
Is not going to help. Again, I'll say again, the either or is ABC or ESPN.
Yep.
Yeah. And hey,
last year was ABC, if I remember.
It was. Yep.
All right, but I saved this for you really quick on Oakmont today.
Okay.
I was posting up there this morning.
137. Is that what you're asking me what I would shoot?
That's a front 9, right? That's your front 9.
Maybe.
Which would be better than me by 100 strokes, by the way. Johnny Miller won at Oakmont.
Okay.
In the early 70s. Yeah.
When he was the man.
And he was six
broad white belts that he wore.
Oh yeah, remember Johnny had the slacks. Remember had his bell bottom dress pants.
Yeah.
Miller was 6 strokes down going into the final round and shot a 63 at Oakmont.
Yeah.
And
that's why he never won much more again, Terry. He sold his soul to the devil that day.
He went down to the crossroads.
He did.
The thing, and so the guy that was putting this up, which was just very interesting, decided to deep dive into the numbers. Was this the greatest round of major golf ever? And going through all the numbers, it is the greatest round of major golf ever.
You can certainly make a case for something like that because to shoot that at this course.
At Oakmont, man.
Yeah. I mean, I'm watching great golfers today look, and it's part of the appeal. They just look like, again, they feel like most of us. This is a day where the weekend duffer can go, all right, they do it too.
I go watch what's coming up. Nothing much today,
we got a couple of athletics directors, Chance Miller and Jeremiah Donati on the show.
And Elijah, of course, at Angry Fish. It's all coming up in the postgame show. Tyler, Dave, nice work.